the Soul's Conquest. Hello, Anna. Welcome to the Soul's Conquest in conversation with, again, Anna Davidson. I'm so excited to have you here. I think we spoke last during my podcast on your show. So I feel like this
Yeah,
is a great way to kind of turn it around
yeah.
and flip the script over.
Well,
So
thanks for inviting me. It's great to be here.
for sure, I'm super excited to share your journey with the listeners here. So, as we head into it rather, I wanted to know, could you tell us a little bit about yourself for those in the audience who are listening to you for the first time or who are viewing you for the first time and have like no clue around what you do and who you are? Could you introduce yourself to us?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Anna Davidson, and I've been working online on this online journey since 2013 after I was made redundant from the corporate world. I actually worked for Pfizer, which nobody had ever heard of before the pandemic, for many years. But it kind of sent me the other way, very holistic in my kind of the way I suppose I help my children and things like that, and the things that we put in our body. But I'm really grateful to have worked for that company as well, because it helped me understand when you work for a really big blue chip company, the power of branding and sales and marketing. So it really set me up with all the experience to take the plunge and take the foot off the cliff, and actually do something for myself. And it was because I became a mum. I think as women, we juggle it all, don't we? We're always kind of competitive with the guys and want to have our own income and our own career, and we're quite competitive. But also a lot of us are mums, and we also want to be a good mum, and it's quite difficult getting the balance of all these different things. And it actually, when I became a mum, it kind of opened me up and made me realize that I wanted to spend more time with this baby. And time became more important than money.
Mm.
So since then, now I introduce myself as an e-commerce expert, women empowerment kind of mentor and coach. And of course, you were on my podcast. It was a great episode where you were sharing a bit about your journey. And I have my podcast, which is called Your Freedom Podcast. And I've been featured in Forbes. I'm an author, lots of, speaker, lots of different exciting things along the way. But my heart really lies with helping women, especially helping people, but helping women especially, probably because I'm a woman and I understand the juggle, the juggle that us women have. But yeah, it kind of really does come from the heart to really passionately help women provide themselves an income and be able to work flexibly.
That's a wonderful introduction, I have to say. So I have two questions off of that. The very first being how did you balance it all?
Yeah, I mean, I think I talk about balance quite a lot actually in with some of my students and stuff, and I think it's impossible to have the perfect balance,
Mm,
because there's like sometimes if I'm doing a launch maybe of a product, or I've got a program running, I might spend a lot more time doing work with my business, and not so much time maybe on myself or with my children. But then there's other times that, if my children need me, I can focus on that part of it. And I think especially by working online and being able to choose the hours that I work and work flexibly around, because I'm a single parent as well. um, I think there isn't a perfect balance, but I'm always reflecting and always checking in with myself to see, whether because I think we need to fill our own cup up first before we can help other people. And it's really important to make sure that we do spend a lot of time focusing on our own health, mindset, well-being, and looking after us. So it's a difficult answer, because there isn't.
mm,
I know that I'm not perfect at doing it, because sometimes I'm like, Anna, you're spending too many hours on the computer, and I have to check in with myself. But I
mm,
think it's about having the awareness, and making sure when you when you see the seesaw balance,
yeah,
dipping in one area, that
yeah.
you do something about it, to take action to make sure that you focus on the bits that you're not looking after, you know.
No, that is such a wonderful answer, and mostly because I can relate to it. Sometimes it feels like there's this meter and the knob keeps going the other way around, like rather than staying in the middle, and it happens because of the surroundings that we are in and the work that we are doing and how important it is to it. And so it again gets very difficult to balance both of these aspects out, which is why I wanted to ask you about this.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, I mean, I feel like at the end of the day, what you said really matters. Awareness is important. Reflecting on your time and your space is important. Like, where am I spending my time? How can I better divvy it up? Basically. So
Exactly.
I respect that a lot. My second question from your introduction is, do you have your own company or your own agency where you focus on helping women with e-commerce?
So yes, I have my own company called the Anna Davidson, which is my name, just because there are other Anna Davidsons out there, I've discovered. So I'm the one. And that involves, I do coaching programs, but I also have my own physical products and digital products that I've created. So
Mm,
actually, I've imported quite a lot of products from India
mm,
and China, which I sell on different online marketplaces. But I also have several different coaching programs around those spaces, but also helping women with their mindset and
mm.
beliefs and things like that.
Now, why is it important? Like, first of all, before going into that, like, why did you choose coaching as a medium to do the work that you're doing right now?
I think it's because I just love people. I know that sounds really cheesy,
It doesn't.
uh,
It doesn't. I
but
mean, it's a
you
true answer, right? It's an answer that comes from the heart, so it isn't cheesy. But go
Yeah, and that's why I
on.
did my podcast, because I just love talking. I think talking is my thing, rather than sometimes people are writing is their thing, isn't it? And they're great at blogging or writing books. When I wrote my book, I was procrastinated so much and kept putting it off and putting it off. And I had to really be strict with myself, and I didn't
Mm,
really enjoy that process. But I knew I wanted to do a book.
yeah.
Um, Whereas podcasting, I feel that, and coaching too, is I feel like every step of my journey I can share.
Mm,
Where I've made success, I can help other people. And the podcast has just been fabulous because I've just met lots of different people, men and women globally, and everybody's got a story to share.
oh,
So
definitely. Yeah.
so it definitely comes from the love of people, I think, and networking and on and all that kind of stuff.
No, that's super wonderful to hear. And just so you know, like, for warning, I tend to use one phrase over and over a lot of times each specific podcast. So there's a different phrase. And I feel like for this podcast episode, it's like, oh, that's wonderful, or wonderful to hear that. So if you guys watching it out there or listening to this podcast, you better make a drinking game out of this and drink water, hydrate yourself. You gotta pee by the end of this podcast. If you don't, like, I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you, literally. Yeah, it happened so much that I was very self-conscious about it, and then I was like, no, I can utilize this is good stuff. I can make a drinking
Exactly,
game out of it.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
We all have those phrases. We all have those phrases that we
yes, we
use.
do, don't we? So I wanted to know, why are you like working towards mindset in particular, and all these limiting beliefs and all these things that you coach women on? Why these topics in particular?
So I went through a really challenging time. In 2015, I left my abusive marriage.
Mm,
So I'm what the police call a domestic violence victim. But I don't like the word victim, and a lot of us that have gone through abuse don't like the word victim. And I decided to kind of, again, without it sounding cheesy, turn that pain into a bit of power and use, I think, and everybody has some kind of adversity. Some are more traumatic than others.
mm,
Nobody's life is perfect. And our challenges, we can actually help us become stronger, and we can actually get by getting through those challenges, we can use it then to help other people. And it was my mindset that I really had to work on, because there were some tough times. There were
mm,
days where I would drop my children off at school and just literally come back and go to bed, because I
Yeah.
felt that I couldn't face the world. And then I had to really have some serious conversations with myself. And it was my business that kept me going, because I didn't want to let other people down. But I wasn't probably being that proactive at that point in time. I was just sort of living and letting it all happen. But by spending a lot of time on my own and reaching out for help as well, because I think that's sometimes difficult to do as humans.
Mm.
We don't want to reach out for help. Um, but, reaching out for help, I had like a therapist at the time, and reading a lot of books, listening to a lot of podcasts. I was lucky that coming from the corporate world, we always did a lot around self-development. So I
Mm.
kind of used some of those tools that I'd learned before, but spent a lot of time myself, really, he, not healing fully, because I think it's a healing journey, but really discovering who I am, and making that decision whether I was going to let all of this kind of beat me or get back up
Mm.
and stand fighting, and I was really embarrassed about sharing my story, because I felt like it was a weakness. I felt that, women who were abuse victims were, you know, as different people than I am,
Mm.
but actually it can happen to anybody. And it's not what happens to us, it's how we deal with it, isn't it?
Mm.
So I decided to use the journey to help other people and share my story, because it helped me heal. Because I think sometimes when we're online, we see all this social media and everyone's got these perfect lives, and
Mm.
you see all these families at Christmas time with all wearing matching pajamas. And life isn't like that every
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
So the reason I wasn't sharing my story and I was hiding it was I felt that people might not think I was as successful, or
Mm.
might think I was weak. But I decided that actually I was hiding this truth, and decided, firstly, selfishly, I wanted to get it out, to get it off my chest, really. But by doing so, it then was helping other women that have been through a similar journey, and people were reaching out to me to, thank me for sharing the story. So I think mindset and looking after ourselves is something that's a little bit overlooked, isn't
Mm.
it? We when we're at school, it's all about education, study hard, go to university.
Yeah.
That's what gives us a good job. But actually, your mindset. I can see it in my two boys that their confidence really will affects them.
Mm.
If they're lacking in confidence, and actually, we see people, don't we, all the time, that their content might not be that great, or they're not that educated, but they're confident and they're doing massive success. So working on your mindset, and just and being confident enough to admit our weaknesses is a real strength, I think.
Mm. Yeah. Oh gosh. That was once again a wonderful response. Um, like I I relate to that in the sense that there is message, or there's message in your mess, basically. A cliched thing that we have heard a lot of times, but I truly believe in the power of stories, and the stories that we share with the world, the stories that at the end
Mm.
of the day we tell ourselves, right? Like that's where limiting beliefs and mindsets basically set forth, is the
Mm.
stories that we tell ourselves about what people will think about us. And it's not
Mm.
an easy journey to overcome. The like changing or shifting your mindset is not something that happens instantly, or the moment you decide, oh, I'm going to change my life. It's not going to change instantly.
Yeah.
There are a lot of deep seated things. There are stories behind the superficial stories that you're sharing with the world. But I thank you for being brave enough to share your story with the world.
Yeah, no, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah,
But
I
when you
mean,
look at, when like you look at people like Elon Musk or Richard Branson, I'm trying to think of other people that we sort of that are successful figures, but when we look at all these different people, they've had huge amounts of challenges on their journey,
mm,
and there's very few. I'm sure there are quite a few successful people that haven't had challenges, but there's very few of them. I think there's more people that have had tragedy, trauma, challenges, adversity, that have made a real success or become a real public figure out there.
mm,
Um, So it's all part of the journey, isn't it?
Right.
Life is not perfect, and it's how we overcome them that shows real strength. That's what I've
Right.
realized.
Right.
So
And I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, go. I've
So
finished.
so like what you said makes a lot of sense once again, because I feel like, especially when you're starting out as an entrepreneur, or when you're just starting out in your journey, there is this automatic need to put people who are successful on top of a pedestal, and we start to believe that they had it all figured out for them, or they might not have gone through the struggles that we go through as a person. But at the end of the day, they are humans as well, and their struggles might oftentimes reflect our own struggles, which is basically one of the reasons why I'm doing this series, is to make sure that people who are starting out in their journey and who are facing an obstacle know that they're not alone in that journey, that there are a lot of other people who face it. Like just a couple of days ago, there was this LinkedIn Spark event, and Ryan Reynolds was on it, and he was talking about how he often gets imposter syndrome even to this date. And it was like a lot of people go through it, and to know that there are other people out there going through the same thing makes you kind of like let go of that pressure that you hold on yourselves, that I can't fail, I can't have these emotions to be successful. So I appreciate you again, once again, coming forward and sharing your story with me. um
I think also when we look at other people,
mm,
because yeah, I remember looking at people thinking, I want to be like them. I don't so much now, but
mm,
I used to be like, I used to give myself excuses. Oh, I can't because of, I'm a single parent or I'm this. And I
mm,
think we do that a lot as human beings, don't we? We compare ourselves and then give ourselves excuses, but actually, there's always someone out there that's beating those odds,
mm,
and it's thinking of those people that have been able to do it with, you know their back against the wall. And really, when you look at how they, maybe a really, I was grateful I had a really great upbringing, and
mm,
I feel like I had quite a privileged upbringing in some respects, and I'm really grateful for that. But I know a lot of people who, this is what helped me through my journey. I used to think about maybe people that were worse off than me, that if
mm.
they've managed to survive through this, then anyone can really.
Yeah.
um, and I think another thing, just if people are listening to this who could be going through a bit of a struggle and they do want to change their life,
Mm,
that we talk about gratitude a lot, and again, this is a bit cliche, that focus on gratitude. But when I was at my lowest, I literally said to myself, look, I've said this before and I've not done it. I was literally writing down things every day that I was grateful for, just
mm,
small tiny things. Even just that, did have food on the table, my children were healthy, and those were the things that were uplifting me. And also helping other people, even though felt I was in a really dark place, there's
mm,
always somebody that's worse off than you. And when you can go and help that person, that also helps you in return. So by
mm.
helping other people and also looking at your life and feeling grateful for it, can really help you through those struggles. And
Oh,
those were two things that I did to get me through.
wow, yo, that is so important. Like, it is a part of my daily journey as well. Like, I start off with gratitude to all the people, to myself as well, to be honest, because a lot of times we forget to give gratitude to our own mind, body, and soul, who
Mm,
are working so hard to continue writing the story that we are living right now. So it's definitely a practice that I share with a lot of people, that if there's nothing going right, just do this one thing. I mean, it won't solve all your problems, but at least you will have a healthier attitude towards life. And um you know
exactly.
you can look at things from a new lens, right?
Exactly.
And sometimes a shift in perspective is all that you need to kind of find new solutions to bring forth changes in your life, I feel. So this is definitely something
Definitely.
that, yeah. Awesome. So tell me a bit about you being featured in Forbes. How did that happen? What was, like, share your particular journey
Yeah.
around that. Yeah.
So that happened right in the middle of the pandemic in 2020. I think
Yay.
it was I think it was April actually.
Mm,
So just like the pandemic here in the UK kicked off really in March.
Mm,
I know it's different for different countries. And it all came from my network. So it's that whole thing of like, sometimes when you're at the beginning of your journey, you're giving a lot and you're helping other people, and you don't see much outcomes of things. It's
mm,
like, in a way, my podcast.
mm,
My podcast's been out 2 years now, and I'm starting to get, this last sort of 6 months, I started to get some momentum.
mm,
But at the beginning, this is why people, we give up on things, because we're doing the actions, but we don't see the results straight away.
mm,
But you've got to just focus more on the action. So for me, networking with a lot of people, helping a lot of people with not asking for anything in return for that,
mm,
then has given me, people think of me when there's an opportunity. And the Forbes feature came from a lady that I've followed online, who I always used to network with.
mm,
She's, multimillionaire. I used to sort of get some tips off her and look up to her and all that kind of stuff. And she reached out to me because they were looking for certain types of businesses, and my business really fitted into it, with the fact of being e-commerce.
nice.
And I think there was four of us, four women in the feature, and
Mm,
it was all about how to sell online right now. That was what the feature was. So some businesses didn't fit into it, or some women didn't, and she really thought of me, and that's just come from a relationship, really, and
mm.
networking. So it just shows you, by knowing her for years and giving and networking, kind of comes back to you.
Yeah. So, what would your suggestion be to build a better network and create more healthier relationships with people around the world? If you're starting your business, no matter what business they are in, what would your suggestion be to the new entrepreneurs out there?
I think maybe think about what skills, firstly, what skills you're good at.
Mm,
And you don't want to be giving everything away for free, but
mm,
you can give. There's lots of things that you can give to give away to free, and always be thinking about. I always remember it was actually when I worked in the corporate world, I read a book, Stephen Covey, The 7 Habits,
mm,
and a lot of them are still ring true now, and one of them is win-win. So when I'm meeting someone, I'm always looking for a mutual benefit. I'm not looking for me to promote my stuff. It's more, how can we work together and both
mm.
win? You know.
Right.
So I think, just basically putting yourself. We're often scared to put our stuff out there because we think, oh, it's not perfect. We might make a mistake.
Mm,
But actually, just there's very few people that take action, and actually, our journeys are just lots of steps of actions that start to build up momentum. And yeah, we might take a bit of action and make a mistake, but it's better than not taking any action at all.
yeah.
So those incremental steps will, build up. Anyway, that's not answering your question because you're asking about networking. But when you're doing that, you're putting yourself out there and you get to meet other people.
Mm,
So, like, for instance, on social media, look for other like-minded people, maybe comment on their posts, and be thinking about how you could create a win-win with that person.
mm,
If you see something that's of mutual benefit, you could be like, hey, I've got this going on, would this help you, or how can I help you? It's always about helping that other person first, and then it
mm,
reciprocates, because if you offer help, usually it comes back, doesn't it? Someone will be like, oh, thanks for that, but how can I help you too? So
mm.
it's just always looking for win-wins and just putting yourself out there and just connecting with people.
That was a wonderful, wonderful tip for sure. So, I wanted to know. You mentioned that when you were starting your journey, you have been podcasting for 2 years now. And before I ask you this question, can you tell us a little bit about the Freedom Podcast and like
Yeah.
how it came into being?
So the Freedom Podcast was after my personal journey.
Mm,
Everyone knows me as like the Amazon or Etsy queen, and I thought there's more to me than that. That's a skill,
yep.
and I wanted to give something back. And I think someone said to me, when you meet someone for the first time, we always introduce each ourselves about what we do, don't we? It's
Mm,
always like, oh, you're a doctor, or you're an accountant, or you work online, and we identify people by what they do.
mm,
Whereas actually, we all know there are good and bad doctors, there are good and bad police officers, there's good and bad, there's good and bad in every profession.
yeah.
So
Yep.
actually, if we actually focus more on what someone's story is and what their
Ah.
journey is, we're really going to understand that person a lot better. So
Yes.
for me, my podcast is about sharing stories,
Mm.
because everybody's got a story to tell. And yes, some are more traumatic than others, some more have more adversity than others, but everybody has something to share by sharing their story. So and it's also about freedom, because freedom's different for different people as well.
Yep.
So so yeah, that's what it's about. And I have my three pillars, which is love, money, and mind, which
Yeah.
has helped me along my way. So yeah, sharing stories, really, the power of stories.
That is again wonderful.
Wonderful.
Yes. I swear to God, I
I love
say so,
it.
like I used to get genuinely so self-conscious because instead of being present, I'd be like, what's another word for wonderful? I'm like, and now I'm just like,
I
yeah, that's
like it. I
wonderful, man.
like
Like
it.
this is me
I like
expressing myself really. So if
exactly.
you
You got to
wanna
be
do something about it, drink
unapologetically
water.
you.
Yeah.
I've just created a brand actually recently called Unapologetically Me.
Yeah. Ooh, that's
With a
wonderful.
with a girl in California who's a designer, and we talk
Wow.
about this a lot. That
Yeah.
like we're always apologizing for things that we
Yeah.
do, or
Yeah.
habits or behaviors, or like you say, sayings. And actually, it's
Yeah.
like, so what? Let's be unapologetically us, you know.
Exactly. Like I was just like, if you want to do something about me saying the same word again and again throughout the podcast, drink water. I mean, you'll do something good for your own self. Again, it's a win-win situation for both of us. Um, I wanted to know when in the beginning of your journey, you've been podcasting for 2 years, as you said, but it has been gaining momentum in the past 6 months or so. What did you feel like when there was not so much traction in the beginning? Because this happens a lot. We create something with a lot of passion, with a lot of energy, and it kind of bombs, and it takes a lot of time for it to actually succeed. But we kind of lose our motivation and our intention to keep creating new
Mm,
things, and we feel like giving up and not doing this any longer, like, oh, this is a failure, maybe I should go back to the place I was in, instead of the higher version
yeah.
of ourselves that we are working towards. So what would your what was your experience like around that time, and what would be some tips that you would like to share with the people listening to this show
Yeah,
right now?
I think everybody goes through that. We all want
Mm.
success now, don't we? We were like, and I
Yeah.
think it's because we see all this marketing online, like in 90 days you will have $1 million sort of thing. So but actually everything takes time, and everything
Mm.
takes action, and not necessarily hard work, but repeat action.
Mm.
So I think don't focus on the outcomes, like I was saying before. Just focus on the last few years. Really, is processes. Having lots of processes in your business really help,
Mm.
because if you have, a process for someone to book a call with you, that works better than having to, keep sending messages of, oh, when can you do this time? Can that's a
Yeah.
process. Just getting a Calendly link or whatever,
Yeah.
or schedule ones, whichever you want to use. But just having lots of processes. So
Mm.
I knew that, well, if you're going to do a YouTube channel, or you're going to do a podcast, someone said to me it takes 2 to 3 years, but most people
Mm.
give up after 6 months. So I
Right.
just thought, I'm just going to keep producing the content, and I'm not going to focus on the outcome.
Mm.
What has helped me is I've had a few interview ask other people to share.
Mm.
It's like this one now that, I'm your guest, so I
Yeah.
can share it to my following. Every guest shares it with their following. He's going to help you increase your following. Um,
Right.
so yeah, just processes, having processes, and focusing on the process rather than the outcome.
Mm. That is a wonderful tip. Again, I wanted to know, like, what other obstacles did you face in the beginning of your journey, outside of this loss and motivation, when things were going on, you're like, I'm just gonna stick to it. But what other obstacles did you face in the beginning of your journey, and what were some of the solutions that you came up with to overcome them?
Yeah, I think early on in my journey, I was probably spending too much on things and not getting
Mm.
enough return.
Mm.
So things like, like paid ads, or like my website, there just seems to be all these outgoings and not enough ingoings or incomings.
Yeah.
And I think I also looked at, because at the beginning of my journey, I was trying to do a lot of affiliate marketing. That was where I started. And I had to do a lot of paid advertising. But then I
Mm.
started to learn skills on the way. Something I say to a lot of my Amazon students, that they might be investing money in stock. Their
Mm.
first product might not be a success. It might be their eighth product
Yeah.
that really helps them, but you've got to keep going through the process. But actually, you're learning how to negotiate with suppliers
Mm.
in China or India. You're learning how to create images and photos for your product. You're learning to actually find the right products
Mm.
that are going to give you the high sales. You're learning how to work with Amazon and listings.
Mm.
So there's a lot of businesses, like a lot of corporate companies, that would pay for you to do consultancy work. So
Mm.
we've also got to think about sort of as we're growing our business, maybe there's some work that you don't really want to do, but you could freelance your skills
Mm.
to provide yourself more income to grow your actual vision of your business.
Right.
So I think it's important, because when we're growing our business, we do learn new skills that we forget about, and because we still feel we're at the beginning of the journey, we don't value them. But actually, there's a lot of people that don't know what we know.
Mm.
So, I look at 9-figure Amazon sellers because they're ahead of me.
Mm.
But there's a lot of people that are new to Amazon that don't know it, so I can teach them. It's just
Mm.
knowing which lane we're in and who we can
Right.
help.
Right.
And remember that skills are something that we can do consultancy or freelance work for. So I think definitely in the early days it was cash flow, and I had
Mm.
these big dreams and thinking that it was going to happen overnight. But
Mm.
the process is, um, I've now got 3 team members that work for me.
Mm.
But I remember trying to get someone to work for me, but I couldn't really afford it. So that didn't work out. So I had to work out how to get the cash flow to be able to then pay someone to
Mm.
then be able to, so that I could focus more on the visionary stuff, or the bits that I wanted to do, and not do the stuff that took me ages,
Mm.
like bookkeeping and design. I'm not very good at. So
Yeah.
those are the bits that I outsource. So um, yeah, I think it's having a plan, and a realistic plan.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
also another thing is that I used to charge too little and give away too many things for free.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
you've
Yeah.
also you've also got to value your skill set and be able to have different packages
Yeah.
for different people.
Oh yeah, that is a definite issue for a lot of people out there, including me. Like that was me in the beginning, right? I'd just give away everything for free, and I was like, stop doing that. You're not earning money, and if you're not earning money, there's no business to run. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
yeah. What would be a healthy mindset? Like you spoke about a lot of things right now on how you overcame the obstacles. Like, there was a lot of things, like it's not going to be a one night success. You were investing a lot, not getting that many returns. What would you suggest to entrepreneurs out there who are starting out right now? What is one healthy mindset that they could kind of utilize to help them through this journey till they hit that, mark and go boom? um till that time, what would be one healthy mindset that they could utilize?
Um, I think the main thing is focusing on your own self-care,
Mm.
because if you run yourself really ragged,
Mm.
and you'll get burnt out,
Mm.
you know. So I went through a time where I wasn't sleeping very well, and then I had to go through this sort of bedtime routine. I still do it now, and it's because it's my
Mm.
self-care. So I run myself a big bath, with loads of bubbles,
Yeah.
and just wind down, because we need to switch our mind off.
Mm.
So I think it's important to make sure that we focus, because we neglect ourselves. We do neglect ourselves because we
Yeah.
think, oh, we're fine. We want this, or we want to work, or we want to focus on everybody else. But
Mm.
looking after yourself, actually, because sometimes you could be working hours on a
Mm.
computer, but actually not productive.
Right. Right.
So
Oh god, yeah.
um, so focusing on, I do this thing now. I don't make massive long lists all the time.
Mm.
I focus on 3 things a day that I'm going to get done, just
Yeah.
3, and
Yeah.
I'm going to do them well, and I'm going to be productive.
Yeah.
And I do it in the week as well, 3 goals in the week. And if I do more than three, if I get into a project and start doing more, then fine.
Yeah.
But definitely mindset wise, focus
Mm.
on your own self care
Mm.
can give you the strength to be able to then tackle anything that comes your way, you know.
Yeah, I hear you. What, like, kind of going off of this question, what are some, self-care routines that you utilize in your personal life and in your work life outside of the nighttime routine that you mentioned?
So it's something that I have to keep reminding myself. And recently I think I'm always looking for people to help me. So
Mm.
recently I've realized I've been working at home. I've got, it's been winter in the UK. It's coming to spring now. And it's been horrible weather, and I've not been looking after. I feel like I've gone into bad habits again with my eating and drinking lots of coffee. So
Yeah.
I always look for people that can help me. You know, like we look for personal trainers.
Mm.
There's, there's therapists that can help us with our mind. There's online coaches that can help us with business.
Yeah.
There's you can even get a love counselor if you want to,
Yeah. Yeah.
find the love of your life. So I think it's important to, it's the quickest way to get that part of your life sorted, because
Mm.
you then are accountable to it.
Yeah.
We tend to just look for like business coaches or maybe a personal trainer, but actually all aspects of our life, we can find people that are going to help us get to that goal quicker.
Yeah.
So I've recently signed up with a girl called Neuropathy Kathy online, and she does a lot around gut health
Mm.
and what we're eating. She went through a period of time where she was not looking after herself,
Mm.
and she had a lot of bad rashes on her face and all that. So she focused on, eating a lot of vegetables, and less meat, and probably and actually no meat on some of it. And it's a 6-week program. So I've literally just
Mm.
signed up for it. This has been the first week this week.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm always nagging myself to make sure I do my daily walk. Because again,
Mm.
when the weather's nice, I go on a walk. Just even a 15-20 minute walk. It
Mm.
does you the world of good. But having these sort of daily habits, drinking lots of water, maybe with lemon in. I
Mm.
noticed you had your water there. Um, and just getting into good habits. And if you need, there's clubs that you can join or groups that are free, or invest in a coach. But I think even like things like meditation,
Mm.
meditation is something that I've done a lot on over the last few years. And I tend to have this routine in the bath where I'll play meditation music and just really switch my mind off on the end of a day.
Mm.
um, so I think look for other people who have got those good routines and behaviors, and maybe join their group or invest in them
Mm.
if you can. And if you can't, there's lots of free information out there, and just get into good habits with what you're eating, a
Mm.
little bit of exercise, winding down with your mind at the end of an evening, are just really, really good habits to get into.
Yeah, I appreciate that response a lot because I think, not only as a coach, but I feel like even as a person who has been coached, it makes a world of difference because we tend to kind of have this vibe of making our own mistakes and learning from it. But sometimes there's no need to do that because there are other people who have made that mistake a lot of times. And there are so many people who have done the same thing over and over again. So there is
Mm.
this opportunity right now given to us, thanks to the digital era, that we don't have to make the same mistakes. We have the opportunity to make better mistakes, right? And
Yeah,
learn from them. So hiring a coach or just someone who can help you out is so beneficial because no matter what aspect you get, you hire a coach in, or like I say coach because I'm a coach, but
mm.
there are so many things that they can help you out with no matter what, like you said. So I appreciate that response a lot. um
Yeah,
i
yeah.
i wanted to ask you this: what has been one of your soul's conquest, and what is your current soul's conquest? When I say soul's conquest, like how we have in video games, we have these side quests that we go on to gather like potions and weapons and stuff like that, that will help us in the main quest, that is whatever it might be. So when I say the soul's conquest, it is the multiple quests that we have been on that will help us in the main conquest, that is life. So what is one of such quests that you have been on in the past, and what is one of the quests that you are on right now? So like your quest can be anything, right? Right now, if your quest is to build up your company, some of the side
Yeah.
quests might be to get a business coach on that can help you with it.
So
Or
yeah, so my quest is all my vision and my ultimate goal is to impact 1 million women globally.
right.
Uh,
So what have you
so
done in between to do that, to kind of
so
enable
my
that journey?
pod so yeah, so my podcast has been a biggie because
Mm.
that's there to sort of, it's going out there, isn't it? There's
Yes.
downloads and the people are watching on YouTube. And obviously I've got my courses where I've probably done a bit more hand holding. But I used to do quite a lot of face-to-face speaking at events, but
Mm.
they've probably more gone on to like podcasts now, and
Yeah.
also maybe like online digital events. Um, so I think wherever there's women, I'm always like trying to kind of inspire by sharing my story so that people realize that you don't have to be perfect,
Mm.
that and that I just and that's all I think about is how I can
Mm.
help more women globally. And I've obviously written my book as well.
Yeah.
Um, and in fact, I have done a second book, which was for a charity as well.
Wow.
So I did that for a charity, and for every book that's purchased, another one is given away to a woman in a domestic abuse refuge, which
Ooh.
fills my heart with joy that they can also be inspired.
Yeah.
And more recently, I've been speaking to a producer about possibly doing a Netflix movie. So
What?
that is going to be my ultimate.
Yeah.
If So maybe watch this space because we're
Yeah.
still in talks about that. So if I get that, that will mean that I will achieve my goal of,
Yeah.
because I'm just trying to think of ways I can get my story and also just the belief that women, it doesn't matter what you've been through.
Mm.
In a way, sometimes we use it as an excuse, don't we? We can achieve whatever we want to achieve. I
Mm.
think there's a quote. I think there's a quote actually. That fear, because it is fear that stops us, isn't it?
Right. Right. It is. It is.
Even if it's when we're learning something new, fear
Yeah.
stops us. And
Mm.
fear can stand for two things: forget everything and run, which was a bit like me many years ago,
Yeah.
or face everything and rise. And I love that quote because I think
Ooh.
face everything and rise. What's the worst that's going to happen? You might make a mistake. So
Yeah.
what? You pick yourself up and do it again. So you just
Yeah.
improve on your journey. So my quest and my mission, I suppose, is definitely to impact more women. I'm always looking at ways. That's why when you asked me to come on this, I thought there could be. I know there'll be men and women listening to this,
Yeah.
but there could be some women that get inspired to maybe change something or do something, that just feel more confident to take that step and really go for their dreams, really.
Definitely. I 100% believe that that is something that is going to happen, and I'm genuinely so excited for you and all the things that you are creating. A last couple of questions. One would be, what is something that has recently impacted your life a lot in this, journey? What is something that has recently impacted your life?
So I think obviously going through the domestic abuse, because it was also I had 34 court hearings.
Mm.
So after I left, it wasn't the end. I then had years of harassment and stalking and just loads of problems afterwards. And unfortunately, my children don't see their father now, because the courts made that decision, which it wasn't something that I wanted to happen, because I think every children needs both parents. Um, but so that is something that I have a heavy heart with, and I've just got to just make sure that they become strong individuals themselves,
Mm.
which I often look at them and feel really proud of what they're achieving and what they're doing and how they handle, school friends that might be a bit
Mm.
horrible sometimes or whatever. But that's been a difficult journey. And I often also think, will I ever meet anyone again? you know,
Yeah, you
because
definitely will. You're a powerful woman. I mean, I'm just saying, putting it out there that, hey.
because the thing is, I've become a bit more fussy now. I'm a
Ah.
bit, I'm my my kind of my walls up a little bit. So
There will be
you know,
someone, don't worry.
I would like to meet someone again, but my
Yeah.
boys come first now.
Yeah.
And not that they didn't come first before, but you know, they are the priority.
Mm.
And it doesn't seem, you know, I just sometimes in my head I tell myself, oh, I don't need a man, but actually I think we all need a partner.
Mm.
I think we all need someone to confide in and spend time with, who we can trust, and is our yin to our
Mm.
yang type of thing.
Yeah.
But so I think we all need that, and so it's
Yeah.
it's probably my defense mechanism to say that I don't need one.
Yeah.
So I think that's been the biggest challenge that I've had, really.
Mm.
But now I see I used to be bothered about what people thought about me,
Mm.
but going through that journey and also having mixed race children was a challenge, I've got to say, because I didn't want to be, and this is me being really honest, I didn't want to be this single woman with
Mm.
two brown boys, not that that was a bad thing, but, I looked like a broken family.
Mm.
I wanted to be that. I was really proud to be married, and being in this mixed relationship was something that I was quite strong to do, and it was
Mm.
going against a little bit of dynamics.
Mm.
So it was kind of like I used to think people would probably like, see, we knew it wouldn't work, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
because that's how just generally people are. But now I'm so proud that I am a single parent with two brown boys,
Yeah.
that I'm, because I'm not really bothered about what people think about it, because I've done the work on myself. And
Mm.
actually, I know that probably a lot of people who I perceive as the perfect
Mm.
family or perfect couple are actually probably quite unhappy. Whereas I've got
Yeah.
quite a lot of contentment, and, I'm living my truth, which is really powerful. So going through, I'm grateful that I've actually gone through the challenges that I have had,
Mm.
which
Mm.
sounds weird to a lot of my
It
friends.
is
Think,
not.
why would I wouldn't have wished all those horrible things to have happened, but it's made me a better friend, it's made me a better mother, it's made me a
Mm.
better woman and
Mm.
daughter. I've got a really strong relationship with my family, and I think, they were, at one point I was worried I was letting them down,
Mm.
by going through a divorce. Um, so, so I think, whatever challenges and trials and tribulations we go through, it definitely does make us stronger. And I think we've all got to kind of live in our truth. And
Yeah.
that's one thing that I'd spread the message. Be confident to be you. Just
Mm.
like we were saying, be unapologetically us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, because it gives you it's less stressful,
Yeah.
because you haven't got all that anxiety and worry about, will people really find out who I really am? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we're not really
Yeah.
looking after them.
No,
So yeah,
I
living your truth.
yeah, that is a wonderful message. And I wanted to know, what is something that you're working on right now? Like, what is something that people can reach out to and get
Yeah.
from you and the services that you're providing right now?
So I do help people find products, but hot selling products to sell on places like Amazon, Etsy, eBay, and your own websites.
Mm.
And I run a couple of programs, an Amazon program and an Etsy program, mainly focusing on women, but I also help men as well. So if any men listen to it, I don't ignore you guys. And I also focus on digital products, because with there's been shipping problems and challenges over the pandemic,
Mm.
and digital products and print on demand, and using Amazon to create journals and workbooks, because we don't need to invest in stock in that
Right.
model. We can just focus on the design and the creation, and
Mm.
Amazon will print it off and ship it out. Or there's print on demand platforms like Printful that will do the same, and lots of digital downloads and ebooks and workbooks and templates that we can create on the Etsy marketplace. So if any of that sounds good to people or intriguing, I do a lot of free masterclasses. And the reason I do that is, one, to give back, and also you get to know my style, and then you can decide whether you want to actually invest and work with me. So if
Yeah.
if you come and follow me on the socials, you'll be able to see some of the free masterclasses that I do on all of these different topics.
That was wonderful. Like, I got intrigued because I always thought that, to be honest, I've tried to print my own journals and stuff. And it has been like a crazy thing because I'm like, where do I get someone to kind of publish this and do that? And now I'm just like, oh, there is stuff already available online.
Yeah. Well,
Ah.
what's great is that I've been recently working with, like, like coaches and
Mm,
service providers who normally, like, say you were running a course,
mm,
you would be like, right, I need to get 100 copies printed so I can send it out to all these people. But actually, you
mm,
can just upload it onto Amazon. You can
yeah.
print author copies for yourself
Mm,
or send them out to people, or you can obviously it's on Amazon and people can buy it as well. So
yeah.
it's great for additional, some people
Yeah.
just do this as a business,
Yeah.
just have journals and my son's creating one at the moment, with different skateboards on and different
Yeah.
things, and because he's 11. So I'm trying to teach both my sons fit, because I think this is a great model, because you don't have to invest in stock, you just have to
Definitely.
focus on Canva and the design and the template.
Yeah.
But you've got to understand the strategy around the SEO with
Mm,
Amazon. That's the thing where people, maybe it is a bit challenging,
mm,
which is where I can help, so that you can be discovered and so that people can buy them on Amazon. But I think it's a great model for anyone, anyone who's got an online business, it can fit
yeah.
in. So yeah, happy to help anyone that wants to reach out, or if you
That's
want to reach
wonderful.
out.
Yeah. Coaches out there, listen to this. Coaches and creatives. I think this is something that is extremely helpful for you guys. I'm going to end this with the last question, which is, what is one last message that you would like to leave my listeners with?
I think it's go back to the quote that I said
Yeah.
around fear.
Yeah.
We can either fear stands for forget everything and run, or
Mm.
face everything and rise, because fear does stop us in our tracks.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I know exactly what fear feels like. And
Mm.
I see what people, we've been living been living in a uncertain time, haven't we, with the pandemic?
Mm.
So fear of whether you're going to lose your job, challenges with your relationship, challenges with, your health. It
Mm.
always comes back to fear and worry.
Mm.
So yeah, I'd anyone listen to this, face everything and rise. You
Yeah.
can't go wrong.
I definitely love that a lot because at the end of the day it's a wonderful quote, and it's also something that mindset, right? The Our limiting beliefs are fueled by our fears. So to know that, hey, it's okay, you can face everything and you can rise up, having that as a reminder and having that as a fuel to work on your mindset and on your limiting beliefs is something that is really powerful. So thank you so much, Anna. This has been such a wonderful podcast. I hope you had fun because I surely
Yeah, it's been
did.
great. Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
great.
So I'm pretty sure so many people will take so many different things away from this. So I'm extremely grateful for you to being present in this time and space and sharing your story with us and your journey with us.
Brilliant. Thank you for asking me.